Welcome back to the show, everybody. This is the Shankly Sessions, and this is your match reaction and player ratings. Villareal 2, Liverpool 3. Liverpool going through the Champions League final in Paris, 5-2 on aggregate. Very happy Reds fan here. Unusually, not usually joined by this man for Liverpool match reactions, but you know, like a bad penny, you can't get rid of Chelsea when it comes to Champions League at times. How are we doing, Eno?
Well, I'm here to pass the torch,
That's not a
so to speak.
And I'm here to take it.
Yeah, and for all your Liverpool fans here who think I'm here just to literally do the wind up with my backdrop, I'm literally just off my own Chelsea podcast. So, I wasn't arsed taking it down, and I thought, but I'm here to be impartial and pass the torch. So absolutely. There you go.
Well, I don't know where to begin with this and where to unpack this. When we talk about games of two halves, but I suppose we should start with the lineups. Klopp making 5 changes to the lineup against Newcastle, which we kind of expected because he had rang the changes for that game. But one Gerard Moreno started for Villareal. How he passed that fitness test, I do not know, because he had that much strapping on that hamstring. I think Emery was a little bit clutching there a little bit. Danjuma, of course, didn't make it from illness, which is a big player that they lost. He's a fantastic player, Danjuma. So, but yeah, it's, you know, I said going into this in the preview, I said 2-0 is a very dangerous scoreline. And like anyone who watches the show knows I have the height of respect for Unai Emery. I thought he was dealt badly at Arsenal, to be honest. He's a fabulous coach, and especially in European competition. And first of all, I suppose I have to commiserate and congratulate Villareal. It's been an unbelievable journey for them. Just falling short at the final hurdle, but it's an unbelievable journey for them. And for them to get to the semi-final of the Champions League, hats off to each and every one of them for the effort they put in this year in Europe, I have to say.
They made a fucking game of it, didn't they?
But they always do. They always do. Yeah. Against you never see Villareal roll over. Really roll over, like, so they made an absolute game of it. Before I suppose we get into it, we'll go down through the first half and second half, and then we'll do some player rating and stuff like that. But first of all, I also want to congratulate Bournemouth on getting promoted tonight, beating Nottingham Forest. And I'm really looking forward to when Bournemouth face Newcastle next season with Eddie Howe. I think that's going to be fabulous as well. So congratulations to Bournemouth.
Absolutely disgusted. I fucking don't like Bournemouth. I was really rooting for Nottingham Forest. I am a man of tradition. I would have loved to see Forest back in the Premier League where they belong.
Well, it could still happen. They're in the playoffs, so it could still happen.
Yeah. But also, congratulations to Bournemouth because they've done what they've done. But yeah, I don't know. I've always had a lovely little soft spot for Nottingham Forest, but there you go. Yeah. That's just me.
Yeah, and another great job we have to shout out as well, Scotty Parker. Doing a fabulous job again, absolutely. So hats off to him. Let's get into this first half, because I think we have to dissect it down. We were absolutely shocking. Now, that pitch, you know, not to blame anything, but that pitch was well watered, let's say. Lads were running around in it. Now, I know there was heavy rain today, all day in Villareal, so I knew the pitch was going to be kind of heavy. But it was as slushy as hell for a Champions League tie in May. Couldn't believe it. But they looked really up for it. First 3 minutes getting the goal, unbelievable. Diaz, you know, the ball coming across and Diaz finishing it. Liverpool all ends up in defence. Should have blocked the ball coming in the first place, and certainly should have got to the second one, but gave up the goal early and then got really, really nervous. We're all out of sorts, all half. As bad a half.
Their press was, they done what you do to teams, to be fair.
It reminded me of the Man City game in the league where they turned the press on us and we suddenly felt our own medicine and didn't know how to deal with it. And hats off to Emery in terms of that. But I kind of got the feeling with the way Moreno was in the team and with the way Danjuma wasn't in the squad, that I think he knew he only had a kind of a time frame to deal with this, and they had to come out of the blocks really, really quick to stay in the tie. But Liverpool were all over the place first half. I mean, couldn't string a pass together. Midfield was porous. Villareal just threaded through the midfield with ease. And to be honest with you, I suppose you could argue that we were probably lucky going in a half time that it was 2-0. it could have been a lot more.
Possibly lucky as well. Just looking at some of the big names here on Twitter. You know, I'm a Twitter guy.
Yeah.
Catch me at the Chelsea Roar if you want. If you want to give me abuse, it's okay. I'm well able for it. The penalty decision, man, that could have really went any way. And the thing is, if it was given, it's red.
I think the fact that he reached up and touched the ball saved his ass big time.
Listen, for me, 100%, that is a stonewall penalty and a red card. I'm not being a dickhead here. I'm trying to be, you're on as
a neutral, so you have to be impartial. You have to give your view.
It was, for me, it's a whole, like, there is no excuse for it not being a red and a penalty. I do think that was the genius behind it, however. And listen, me being a Chelsea fan, I love a little bit of shithousery. You know what I mean? I'm all for it. Right. And I do think that was his saving grace, was because, I mean, he takes his leg out, but then suddenly the left hand comes and flips it behind him. It was like watching, you know what it was like? It was like watching someone when they get thrown out of the ring at the Royal Rumble and they do this whole fucking, you know.
And somehow, whatever way the arms went, at some stage, both arms made contact with the ball, and that's what kind of saved the decision.
That was it, because like if he hadn't have done that with the palm away with the left hand to kind of flick it almost behind him into the net, almost actually. If he hadn't have done that, I mean, there would have been questions.
The ref was going to have to make a decision. There's no doubt about if he hadn't made contact with the ball, definitely.
So look,
because it was so clumsy as well, wasn't it? He was up on a ball, really. You know, he wasn't even spread the way he normally spreads himself big.
It was quite, and look, I'm no fan of Lo Celso from his Tottenham days. I really am. I have no respect for him. But, you know, it was actually quite clever what he did, you know, because I was watching it on the RTE feed and, you know, Ray Houghton was obviously being a Liverpool man. Oh, no. And then he's like, I don't know, it's 50-50 because he saw it from different angles. And you're like, if Ray was sitting in a pub with no camera on him, he's like, fuck. But he kind of said it as well. He goes, you actually watch Lo Celso, he's just looking at the keeper. He knows what he wants.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? But look, he's got away with it and going in, Jesus Christ, going in without your keeper would have been a different story. But the fact that you were able to go in, you know, only 2-0 down at halftime, at least you still had a foot in the race, like, and but no, it was a shocking first half, I have to say. Like, players that you would expect to be, like, Trent looked like he was kind of just looking for that looping ball over the top the whole time, and it was like it wasn't working. I think he was either under hitting it or over hitting it. We couldn't just link up. We knew what we wanted to do when we got into the positions, but there was one, I think, even in the second half. Diaz was missing big time, wasn't he? In even the first half.
And Keita, the whole midfield with it, and Fabinho was trying to mop up what the two boys weren't doing as well. And then you looked at Robbo wasn't working on his side, Trent wasn't working on his side, so just nothing. And when that whole section of the team doesn't work, the team doesn't work. Because the one thing about Liverpool, the way they play, it's all sections of the jigsaw have to work to make the actual play work.
Oh yeah, like it's like clockwork. It's like a great old Rolex. You know what I mean?
Like I was even critical even in the second half. Trent, he had a free cross in, and he crossed in. There was 4 guys in the box, and he missed all of them. And I was there going, it's so unusual for Trent in terms of his final ball and all. Normally it's pinpoint, and then of course he crops up, and it does become pinpoint, as we seen with the.
They were very clever though. They were very, very clever, because I thought like they done a great job even of kind of having Van Dijk out of sorts, which is kind of unusual for him, and you could see him getting quite frustrated in the first half.
Well, he probably felt like he was doing the job of 3 people, because he was mopping up more than he's mopped up all season.
Well, I think you're being unfair to Robertson though. I think with Robertson, like, the one thing you're getting with him is like defensive solidity. I don't think you were ever worried about him defensively.
First half I was, because first half he was out of sorts and he was getting taken down that side. But then I think in the second half was a totally different half. But I mean, second half was a totally different half for the whole team. I would love to know. I would have loved to have, like, you know, like one of those Amazon documentaries in that changing room for that 15 minutes. What was said. And I'd love to know who was talking as well, because you can be guaranteed I'd say Hendo was on the floor very vocal. I'd say Pep Linders was on the floor very vocal. And I'm sure Klopp, Klopp's stare is probably more than enough. You see him before games and all, you know what I mean? But I'd say I'd say there was a lot of soul searching done in that 15 minutes there about like, what the hell are we about here? What's happening and all. Safe to say they came out second half, and they were, again, even in that first 10 minutes of that second half, they came out. There was a lot more energy. They were winning a lot more balls, but again, still wasteful in possession. Still weren't stringing it together the way they wanted.
Yeah, it was kind of like, I mean, as a neutral, you definitely feel sorry for Villareal, because you kind of knew that they weren't going to be able to keep up that pace. And it was kind of a bit like, I mean, look, they had Marino like a wounded animal, literally, putting a Band-Aid over an injury. And it was like, but fair play to him. I mean, that's a Trojan warrior.
Unbelievable effort,
Absolutely. Chuka, I can never say his name. Chukwueze, the guy on the wing. He is fucking like, he's a ball of energy.
Yeah.
And you could see, and you could see that they were trying to exploit that, that right hand side with Trent, because they knew, right, if we keep Trent on the back burner here, we can actually, get some success there. And it did work very well. But look, like any good football club or like football team, let's say, forget about club, Liverpool are a well-oiled machine. And I have to say, the mentality of the Liverpool players is what kind of separates them from, say the likes of us, or, the teams below them. Like,
they have a confidence in what they do, and they don't change that regardless of what way the game is going. Yeah, they stick to the plan, whatever the plan is, regardless of whether it's going for them or against them, because they know eventually it will come back around and it will right itself. Eventually passes will come together and stuff like that. But I suppose we have to talk about the boy nets for Villareal, Rulli. I mean, I feel terrible for the kid, really, you know what I mean? Because he got nutmegged twice tonight, and then I don't know how many times he found himself in no man's land. But it was just like, it was kind of like, I nearly thought after the first leg, I was wondering, would they keep him in nets, or would they change the keeper? Because he had a bit of a kind of an interesting night back in Anfield there a week ago, and I was thinking, would he make that change or something like that? But I mean, hats off to Emery. I mean, he stuck with him and stuff like that. But again, I suppose a keeper getting nutmegged, your first course as a goalkeeping coach is to tell a keeper, always keep your legs tight and closed, because you're always wide open if that happens.
And lean down and spread yourself, because you can actually use your hands, believe it or not.
Yeah, but I think when Villareal came out after half time, I'd love to know what was said in their dressing room as well, because they must have thought, we have these guys here on the rack, we have them, you know what I mean? But as soon as they came out, it was like the whole side had this massive adrenaline dump. And it was like they had decided to get bogged down in their own pitch. It was crazy, because they were slower to every ball. We were moving the ball much quicker, and that was something I was critical about in the first half. We were so slow even at moving the ball around, even at times when we did link up and put a few passes together. But it had to be a hell of a lot quicker, because these guys, with Emery, they're going to be so structured and so coached in their role in the team and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And you look at that Villareal. I mean, there's a number of players in there that are really good, but I mean, I think there was 6 players they said on commentary. I don't know if you caught it. 6 players in the Villareal side tonight that actually have played for English clubs in the Premier League. Which was an interesting stat as well, So,
well, I think one thing I had this conversation with my dad actually yesterday. I think I was talking to you on the phone yesterday about it as well, and I talked about, like, when I look at, say, from my team, and look, we have banter here and there and stuff like that, which club you follow, but like you respect clubs that are doing well. And I'd obviously mentioned with our own situation how I love the idea of, the FSG model, the Liverpool model, where like you're finding players to suit that structure. And I think, it's all well and good people going, Klopp's only won this amount of trophies in the space of time that he's been there, but it's not about that. It's about what he's actually built. And like, when you look at this now, it's now a well-oiled machine. So it's all well and good going back yesteryear and going, oh, well, we won more than this, and we won this, and we won this. The fact of the matter is, there is not just from the coaching aspect in terms of what Klopp, what system he plays on the pitch, but it's also the staff that he has in the background that are working on these players. Very, very. I mean, and touch wood, because look, I'm not a champion of seeing players injured. I don't like it. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they're sports people that are trying to fucking make a living at the end of the day, regardless of what money they're on. So, you've had your injury issues last year, something that looks to have been very, very much so worked on over the off season.
Yeah.
And and in fairness, that was a kind of a freak year for you last year, because you've always kind of been very fit and healthy, and your first 11 is usually there with maybe a little change here and there.
Yeah.
But one thing I admire about Klopp's Liverpool is just how fit the players are. You know what I mean? They're not going to gas out. And if there is one player that needs to be, like, even James Milner at fucking 30, what's he, 35, 36? Like,
yeah, I read an article the other day that apparently, and it's no disrespect to Man United. I think Gary Neville brought it up or something like that, or Roy Keane was talking about it the other night. And he said that when Solskjaer or something was at United, he said United were running something like 30k or something like that a week. That was part of their training. And they got information. Apparently Carragher then, I think, was talking about Liverpool, and he mentioned, I think, that Liverpool run somewhere in the region of 70 or 80k a week. Like, so their fitness is absolutely through the roof. But I think what's happened as well is, for us this year, it's been pivotal. We've brought Konate in, who's been an absolutely fantastic signing, but that has allowed us to use Matip very carefully, so we can structure him through the season, so he hasn't been injured. So we've been able to rotate. And the same even with Robbo. When Robbo got a bit tired, I got a bit injured from international duty or whatever it was, we were able to bring in Costas, and he was able to cover there and do the job that we needed. Likewise, in the last few weeks, if we needed to roll Trent out and bring Joe Gomez in, we were able to do it. In the middle of the field, we were able to rotate the middle of the field. So when Thiago needed to come out, we were able to bring him out rather than forcing the issue and ending up injured and gone for the season or whatever it is. So, and the same up front, bringing Luis Diaz in, we were able to bring Diaz in so we could rest Jota, or we could rest Mane or Salah. So
he's end up, I don't care what anyone says, no offense to Jota, but like, I'm taking that guy every day of the fucking week.
I've said on a couple of shows, he's going to be, when he gets a full pre-season under him with that team, he's going to be frightening next season.
It's the best. Like, that has to be. I mean, I don't know. We could probably go back in time and look at it, but that has to be up there with one of the best January signings ever. No,
absolutely, very, very close. Anyway,
in recent years, like, for sure. Like, I mean, it's like he's been playing for the club for, I mean, I'd be comfortable, like, if Mane or Salah did say, "Oh, well, I'm fucking off and I'm going to do whatever I want to do," I'm like, "Grand, we have Diaz." Because he's the next in line to be that 20-30 goal, a season goal scorer. I was going to say striker because I'm old school, but no, he without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, he's only, what's he only, like 5'7", 5'8" or something as well, and he's winning headers.
Luis Diaz. Oh no, Luis Diaz is tall enough, kid. Luis Diaz is tall enough, kid.
But
no, he's
not huge though. But he's average.
He's average, but he'd be. I'd say
5'9" or 5'10".
I'd say he's taller than that. He's taller than that because I seen him in an interview talking to Klopp in the corridor, and he's like Klopp isn't towering over him. I mean, now Klopp is a tall lad, but he wasn't towering over him. I'd say he must be 6 foot. I'd say. I'd be surprised if he's not 6 foot now.
I'm going to check him out now. Let me see, what height is he? 5'10".
5'10", is he? Yeah.
5'10", legit. Yeah.
It's probably the way he wears the Barney. Maybe he has him looking a bit taller.
It's always the way,
because he has the hair.
Klopp is probably like doing him a solid and leaning down a little bit as well. Like the old pro wrestling kind of way of just kind of leaning down and making
Diaz on the tippy toes and Klopp leaning down.
But I mean, 5'10" is still a fucking decent height. But but the thing about it is, even for a 5'10" player's vertical leap is absolutely phenomenal, and his timing is phenomenal. Yeah, look, I'm in love with Luis Diaz as a footballer. I have to say, there's nothing about the kid that you know what I mean, that I don't like. I just think he's fit seamlessly into that. And as much as it pains me, you know, I wish my team was looking at players like that rather than, you know, big sweaty lampposts standing in the middle of a park. You know what I mean? So
it's amazing how it's panned out, because he was supposed to be our number one target for the summer, and Spurs forced us into doing the business in January. Basically, they tried to hijack it. You see,
very true.
So it's been an unbelievable move for us, really, because we could have sat back and said, "Nah, we'll wait," and then we would have lost him. But I mean, he's come in, he's been exceptional. I think in most of his games he's played in, he's now less than an 8 or a 9 out of 10 most days. But he brings.
And now you're taking advantage of our situation and trying to grab our targets.
But he brings that he brings that kind of, because he's so new, he comes in, he's a ball of energy, and he raises the energy of the rest of the team when he comes on the pitch as well, because you can see the lift that he gives the team when he comes on. And for a guy who's like the new kid on the block, it's amazing to see it as well. Like
he is, and I'm gonna blend my name to him here. Like he is a dynamo. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The dynamo of a footballer. Like the cog is just constantly running.
Yeah.
And it's just like, good Lord, you know, I'd say he's a player that you fucking hate playing against, because you're like, man.
He's always switched on. He's the kind of guy that if he told you that he never sleeps, you'd believe him, because he's just so wired and switched on all the time.
Well, he is Colombian. Check that man's blood.
Absolutely. But yeah, fantastic, we're through to Paris, another final. Before we get into the player ratings, give us your thoughts then.
Tomorrow usually you do these shows and you do a great job on your own, but like actually now I'm going to turn my, you know, host hat on here. I'm just going to ask you, because I know what it's like, you know, as recently as last year. Tell us how you really feel. You deserve it. Tell us how you really feel.
I feel wonderful, but you know what it is? I'm just so drained, because I was looking at
emotionally.
Yeah, but like it's just like the team, it's just a roller coaster with them, and it generally always is, you know. And I just find at the end, like, I'm so happy to be back in another final. I don't really care who we get. We're in a final, but the beauty of it as well now, because we're fighting on so many fronts, we can now park the Champions League till the 28th of May. We're done. We're in the final, and now we've got Spurs up in a big game on Saturday to keep the title race alive. And then 2 weeks, then we've got the FA Cup final against ourselves, which is, of course, we'll do a double act for that as well. I'll do a preview, and for that it'll be excellent, you know.
Of course,
get a couple of guys on, we'll have a bit of crack on it and stuff. But yeah, I'm absolutely, I don't come across as being absolutely jumping for joy, but I am inside. I'm absolutely electric for it.
No,
the only bitter pill, yeah, absolutely. The only bitter pill for me is the fact that I got let down on my tickets for the final by UEFA today. I got that dreaded email that probably thousands of people today are getting. But I will be, no doubt, if they're doing a viewing in Anfield, I'll be over there, or if they're doing a viewing in Aintree, I'll be over there, and I'll be there for the parade this time. And also,
well, I'd like to say, as an honourable Chelsea fan, congratulations, because regardless of all this Liverpool and all the banter that we go with and blah blah blah, look, you won the fucking game. It's like, you know, it's like my team, you know, blaming the referee and, you know, losing 1-0 against Everton. It's obvious that there's an agenda possibly, but at the end of the day, you have the potential to kind of beat that agenda by putting the ball in the back of the net. Yeah. And that's what Liverpool done tonight. And I think it's won fair and square. You showed elite mentality to come back and not only just, you know, equalise, but win the game.
Yeah. So and I think to get to a Champions League final or win a Champions League, you have to have a bit of luck on the way as well, because it's so many matches. It's a roller coaster of a ride. You know, between injuries, between, you know, travel, between all those things that you face. And we know how tough the Premier League is on these boys as well. And the fact that we went all the way in the Carabao Cup, and the fact that we're in the final of the FA Cup. So these lads have put in a serious amount of mileage on those bodies this year. And the fact, it's incredible, as you said.
And you might feel it next year. That's the thing. You might feel it next year, yeah.
Possibly, but there seems to be a fair old plan there to bring in more players. It's not like we don't look like we're going to sit on our laurels I think he's identified clearly that the midfield needs a bit of work on it. And who knows, if Salah doesn't make the decision, he's going to have to do something there as well. So let's see what happens there.
Yeah,
but
100%.
yeah, just I suppose before we move on to the ratings tomorrow night, what you're feeling on it? I know my feeling on it. But give me your one.
Well, I called it on the mashup a couple of weeks ago, didn't I?
Think so, yeah.
Yeah.
Think so, yeah.
I'm going Real Madrid.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking.
I've had a Real Madrid Liverpool final on my mind now for since we got eliminated. As soon as Real knocked us out, and I think Real are a different animal, as you've seen, like against us, but even against City at the Etihad. Yeah, might be only 3-2, but 3-2, like that's as we saw tonight. That's fucking nothing when you go to the Bernabeu. We talked about elite there. They have elite. Like, I'm sorry, Karim Benzema, in my opinion, is the best footballer on the planet at the moment. I think without a shadow of a doubt he is. Definitely in terms of goal scorer, he is without a shadow of a doubt. You could toss it up between him, Lewandowski, and Salah if you want. But for me, the lad makes it look easy. Just that finish, even like just that little touch. The lad,
it's just a cleverness. There's the wily cleverness to him and experience. Yeah,
beautiful football player. I mean, and old school, tough. You know what I mean? You don't see him down on the ground. He's just, I don't know, something special. He really is like a Thiago Silva of the forward line. Like a fine wine, just getting better and better. And they're going to be on a high, having wrapped it all
league up. Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was thinking. And
you know what I mean?
Never dismiss Carlo either. What a manager he is. He's after winning the league now, six different European leagues. He's after winning them. It's exceptional.
The only manager to do so, I believe, isn't that right?
And I'm sure both sets of teams must have been looking at tonight at halftime and going, "Yes, I like the look of this," but that didn't pan out for them.
City have it all to do. I really do. Because we know City, and the reason I say City have it all to do, just for the dazzlers out there that are probably ready to critique me, here's my reason for coming out with a statement like that. You're going to the Bernabeu. City have it all to do purely for the fact that Real now have nothing to lose. Do you know what I mean? People are expecting the Man City Liverpool final. People have been expecting it since the fucking day the draw was done. They now can go and sit back the way they do, and we know City don't do that. They're not just going to sit back and soak up pressure.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They are going to give chances to Real Madrid. Now, look, City are well capable of creating their own chance as well, and they are going to. I just have a feeling that you're going to get a sneaky, like, I don't know, like a 3-1 win, or like
It's many a great European side has dismissed Real Madrid when they have a tough task ahead of them, and we look. I'm a Liverpool fan. I know better than anyone. You know what I mean? So it's
look, they're the biggest. Like, they are the most successful club in football history, and
experience at this stage is huge as well, isn't it? The experience of those players. 100%. I know, obviously, Man City got to the final last year as well, so they'll have experienced that, they'll have tasted it, and they want more of that. But I'm the same. I'm thinking the experience in that Real Madrid side is going to be massive tomorrow night. Yeah. And it's whether Pep and Man City can handle that if it goes a little bit skew ways. Look, if that game starts tomorrow the way ours did, and Real get an early goal or two, it's whether Man City are going to have the mettle to stand up to that. And it'll be interesting to see if they do. And if they do, fair play, and they get through to the final. But yeah, I don't know. I think I was looking at when the semi-finals came out, and I think this has all the makings of 2018 again. But hopefully we get the right result, not the wrong one this time.
Me too.
But yeah, Real Madrid, you just can't discount them. They've quality all over the pitch and experience, and sometimes that's just enough to get you over the line.
Players like Luka Modric as well, like and Kroos, who are just like they were written off in that Man City game. Do you know what I mean? In the last game, they were written off, and
and
Like I said,
rightly so.
and rightly so.
Yeah, because they
But
similar to us first half tonight. You know, they really struggled.
but they just have, like I said, in Karim Benzema, like, my God, he really is. The lad's 35. It's like we're talking about him as if he's 25.
In the face of adversity, they find a way, don't they? They just find a way. Unless you actually nail them to the wall, they find a way.
And they also hate Pep Guardiola as well. Do you know what I mean? They fucking detest Pep Guardiola. Yeah. So this is a rivalry within a rivalry.
Yeah.
So like they don't want this new shiny toy in Man City in terms of how they would look at it. That's not. I'm not saying that in any disrespectful way to Man City, but like it was the same last year. Like Chelsea really humbled them, but we only played at the B Stadium, obviously with no fans there, and we absolutely gave them a hiding. And they went out looking for that revenge. You know what I mean? And when they decide it's time for revenge, like it's very, very difficult to fucking. And I dare say, it's UEFA. Like they're gonna have the ref on their side, aren't they? At the Bernabeu. I'm not saying. Look, I'm not.
I know where you're coming from, but I think this year and I've said it on a couple of shows. They've definitely given an instruction to referees this year to let the game become more physical. Definitely, because I think if you look at last season as well, and I know there was no fans and stuff like that at times as well, but I think the game was going down a really bad path where it was nearly becoming a non-contact game. And I think I like the fact now that, like, you know, you can body check a lad, or you can go in for a tackle somewhat, you know what I mean? And you can make physical contact with a guy.
Rightly
seeing it even tonight with the referee tonight, there was a couple of tackles going in and stuff like that, and he let them go. And I mean, even with our own players, when Robbo hit the deck or Diaz hit the deck or something like that, he was waving them on. And even in the first 5 or 10 minutes, I think a Villareal player went down and he went over to him and he said, "Get the fuck up off the mat, basically. Get up off the deck."
Rightly, no, 100% rightly so. Now, the thing about Real, this is why I also think they're such a good team, because Ancelotti, like, don't forget Ancelotti, you know, he had that wonderful AC Milan team, but also the Chelsea team, which still holds the record, I think, for most goals scored ever, as you know.
Yeah, he's had so many great teams.
He's had so many, but the thing is, he doesn't really, like, you don't see the dark arts with Real Madrid as much as you did maybe 2 or 3 years ago before Ancelotti came. He's not really a component for that. It's probably in some of the players from the Mourinho days, and you know, but he's not really a proprietor of that kind of nonsense.
No, he's more a proprietor of possession, isn't it? It's more he gets possession and holds onto the game to frustrate you.
It's old school Italian football. We play on the counter attack and we'll take our chances when we get them. But the one thing I'll say is, and I'll finish on this, Real Madrid also have that shithousery in them. If it's not working for them, they can also be physical. Like if they're not getting what they want from the Madrid team, or you know, from the ref, they can also kind of be cuntish. You know what I mean? Like
they can force a situation because they have the experience. They have that experience that if it's not, as I said to you, if it's not going their way, they will find a way. Either through that game management, or through a little bit of that shithousery, or if they need to get down into the trenches, there's no better team than Real Madrid to get into the trenches and climb back out. And
when they're in deep waters, they know how to swim. You know what I mean? So it's it's funny. I didn't expect this tonight. I honestly didn't, as a neutral. I expected tomorrow's game to be the most intriguing one. I thought Liverpool would have enough just to kind of seal this and be a bit of a contest. But good Lord, going in a 2-0 at half time. Yeah. It's a great setup.
It's a great setup for tomorrow night, isn't it? It's a great setup.
Exactly. It's you know what? It's like a finely written soap opera, and it's and I'm all for it. I can't wait. Go on, do your player ratings. I'm sorry,
player ratings
it's
anyway.
Good conversation though.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Alison Becker, I gave him a 7 tonight. I think at times his
I gave him a red.
Yeah, but I think certainly first half his distribution was slightly off. couple of times he kicked balls out of play and stuff like that when he didn't need to.
Yeah, but I think he was doing that to be smart, though.
No, I think he was just as perplexed as the rest of them, to be honest. He just didn't realise what the hell was going on. But I think second half, he didn't have a lot to do. And of course, he did make that save, and we have to call it a save now, regardless of how we feel about it. He did stop a goal, potentially, So, yeah, give him a 7. Trent, I gave a 6 to. And I suppose in a match like this, it's really difficult to do ratings because it was a horrific 45 minutes. And then in the second half was just the flip side of that. So it's hard to give ratings really, but a 6. But I thought Trent, he was very poor for that headed goal at the back post. Well, that was shocking.
I thought he was, like if I'd be borderline 5 and 6 with Trent tonight. I thought he let himself down a little bit, but that was mainly from the first half, kind of going on what you were saying. But like, I think a 6 would probably be fair because, he came out on the winning end, but certainly wasn't one of his finer performances.
Yeah, his distribution first half was poor as well, and his link-up play as well.
That's what my problem was.
So it's kind of,
the thing that he's good at, you were expecting more of. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because obviously a lot of people talk about his defensive kind of acumen, but 6.
Yeah, it's mad. It's mad for a guy at his level because if he's slightly off, he looks way off. And if he's on, he's just world class. You know what I mean?
So the standard he's set for himself. You know what I mean? It's like it's like tomorrow you're going to see Cancelo as well. Like you always hear about the the three, James, Cancelo, and Trent, and it's like if one of those have a little bit of an off game, it might be okay if you're a fucking Steve Finnan, but like if you're a Trent,
spotlights on these guys all the time.
Yeah,
exactly. Konate, I gave a 7 to. I think he's just consistent at the back there, and I think, to be honest with you, I think if you're playing beside Virgil van Dijk, I think you're around defending royalty, to be honest, anyway, and you're only going to be really, really good. But yeah, he was solid tonight. Didn't have a huge amount to do. You know what I mean? He's just growing in confidence every game, and he's a monster of a man as well. So trying to get by him is a task in itself.
Celtic legend Van Dijk,
Yeah, Van Dijk. Van Dijk. The Saints might have something to say about that. Van Dijk.
True.
Van Dijk, I gave an 8-2 tonight. I think he was just. It was weird because what happened was Fabinho in his role was having to step into midfield to counteract what was happening with Thiago and Keita, and then that space was being left for Van Dijk to mop up where he wouldn't normally have to do that. That would normally be controlled by Fabinho. So I thought he did a real good job of doing that. Even at times when it was perplexing first half, you could see it in him as well. He was trying to figure out what the hell was going on as things unfolded. But I think he was getting dragged into an area that I would normally associate with Fabinho's area, but he was sort of vacating his area because he was trying to do what Thiago and Keita should have been doing, really. So it just got a little bit muddled and a little bit mixed up. But second half, I think that's where he just comes into his own. And it's once we start linking up and we start playing the way we play, it's such an easy night for him. He just makes the football look so easy.
It's the difference. I'll give you an example with Van Dijk. The difference, and like I'm sorry, but I don't buy into this new kind of nonsense of a captain isn't what a captain used to be. It doesn't really matter. You've got leaders within the team. I think that's absolute bullshit. I think a captain is a captain who leads and that people actually listen to, but leads by performance on the pitch, not just by shouting at people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like my own team had it with John Terry, and we haven't had a captain since him. And people will say, "Oh, you're being quite disrespectful to Azpilicueta," but look at what Azpilicueta done, against Everton.
Yeah.
How do you go into a dressing room after making a boo-boo like that and then tell your opposition, your comrades what they should be doing on the defensive line? You can't.
Well, I suppose it depends on the how your players feel about you and stuff like that. Because any player on any day can make a mistake. You know what I mean?
You can, but if you're doing it, what I'm saying is, if you're doing it on a consistent level, say, and I'm just using Azpilicueta as an example, because they're the games I watch. You know what I mean, week in, week out, and I'm seeing the decline in front of my face. Whereas you don't with Van Dijk, you can see when others are making mistakes around him. He's not making them mistakes. He might be dragged out of position a little bit because, as you mentioned, he's trying to cover for A, Y, and Z. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but that's where the mistake comes from.
Yeah, but see,
doesn't come from.
Yeah. But
doesn't come from a lapse of concentration.
Yeah, but the thing we forget about with them as well is, and if you look at it, and it's an interesting dynamic that I read yesterday about Liverpool as well. We actually have the captain of Holland, the captain of Scotland, the captain of Egypt, and the captain of Senegal all playing for us, all on the pitch.
Well, there you go.
You know what I mean? So we do have leaders all over the pitch. But I think with Van Dijk, when it's not going right, he's that guy that kind of, you know, he's trying to figure it out. You can see it in him on the pitch, even in his facials. He's trying to figure out, why is this happening, or why is that happening, or where are we going wrong? He's nearly like trying to do the job of Klopp from the sideline, but in-game management. And he's there, and you can really see straight away that he knows, like, if Fabinho's moving into that position there to try and fix that, what's going on there, I need to step in here. This is where I need to mop up and stuff like that. And exactly, he takes that responsibility, and it's really great to see, but it's not necessarily where he's at his most comfortable, because 9 times out of 10 you see him, he nearly walks off after 90 minutes most games. He doesn't even break a sweat, like, you know, he's just so confident in his play. Like,
it's a really good point you made there on the captain thing, because if you think about it, when you think of the great sides, like the longevity of the great sides, you had the same with Chelsea in the 2000s. Obviously under Mourinho, you had, say, Terry, right, captain of England. You had Petr Cech, captain of Czech Republic. You had Michael Ballack, captain of Germany. You had Frank Lampard, vice captain of Chelsea. You Didier Drogba, captain of Ivory Coast.
Yeah,
you know, shall I go on? And then it's the same with United as well. You know, you Giggs, captain of Wales, although fuck you, Giggs, your time will come. No, you had Roy Keane, captain of Ireland. You had Dennis Irwin, vice captain, who would step in. Gary Neville, you know what I mean, who captained England sometimes. David Beckham, who captained England sometimes. You know, so that's actually a really good point that you made there, because I'm looking at that Liverpool team, and it's like that is what makes those 11s so strong, because you have 11 leaders on the pitch.
Yeah, it was an article. It was just a great article I read yesterday, and I was just I delved into it. Like, I went down a bit of a rabbit hole on it, and I said, yeah, you can see it there, like, that they, you know, around the pitch, they don't shirk their responsibility. They take it, they embrace it, they know it's their job. But there's captains throughout the spine of it. You know what I mean? So it's fantastic to see. Yeah. Robbo, I gave a 6-2, but I thought he had a real good performance second half. But I thought first half, Kapui nipped in that time as well to provide the first goal and stuff like that and all. And I think a couple of times again, it's harsh to kind of judge it, because the whole team was out of sorts first half as well. But I thought he was a little bit exposed on that side as well, which is unusual for him, because he's normally such a solid performer. Fabinho, I gave a 7-2. He just puts in a shift every time. He's that sort of mop up, nearly sweeper guy who sits in front of the back four, and you know, he's that link up between the back and the midfield, and he's not scared these days. A little bit of change in him as well. He's no problem going forward and sometimes getting on the end of a goal as well. He took his goal lovely tonight as well to get us on our way as well, which was fantastic to see. So
he's like a mix of someone like, you know, if you threw in a blender, you threw like a Roy Keane, a Makelele, and like a Kante in a blender, and then you made him 6'2".
But again, he's so like Van Dijk as well, because he's so cool and controlled about how he does it. Like, there's an aggression to him, and there's a bite to him, and there's a competitive edge to him, but it's very, very controlled. You can see it's bubbling up inside, but so controlled in terms of the output. He's so.
You don't want to swap. Would you not swap him for Bakayoko? No. We do a trade.
No, I don't. Yeah. No, I don't think I'd be swapping him.
They were the two, as you remember, in Monaco, and we went for the Bakayoko.
Yeah, the close. Well, he was supposed to be on his way to United, remember, and we hijacked it.
Should have let it.
The closest I compare him to, and you'll like this, is probably Makelele.
Yeah.
Just outstanding, like, you know what I mean? Just does that work that often doesn't get the plaudits, but absolutely sublime.
It's the silent work that you don't watch unless you're looking for it. You don't see it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It makes the thing tick. It's like, I tried to use that analogy earlier of like, why is a Rolex like the most expensive watch? Because every component in it does exactly what it needs to do and keeps it ticking.
Yeah.
And there's players like, say, a Fabinho, that is exactly that. You know, we always hear the Rolls Royce player, but like I like the analogy of the Rolex player.
Yeah.
You know, that just there's a reason why you pay the money for that guy, and there's a reason why that guy earns so much money, because he is the like. Yeah, I would agree. I think he's you know, definitely as important probably as Van Dijk in that midfield.
Yeah,
I think so.
Thiago, I gave a 6 too. It's amazing with Thiago. He's been absolutely brilliant, say, for the last month. He's been unbelievable in there in terms of his passing and everything else. But that first half today was as bad as Thiago will probably ever play a half, especially for Liverpool. But certainly second half, he grew more into it, and his passing was more established. I thought first half, I thought he was, I don't know, was the whole team, they were just trying to do things that they don't normally do, little kind of flick overs and stuff like that and all. And I was banging the table here and all, going, just get the ball down, lads, and play football. Don't need to be doing this little thing. Because I never seen Thiago so much on his ass at times and getting flicked around all that kind of stuff, because he's normally so balanced and so controlled in the way he did it, and his passing was all over the place. But second half certainly grew into the game and started pulling the strings a little bit more, you know. So I gave him a 6. Keita, I gave a 6 too as well. Nearly gifted Villareal a goal, but again, he was way out of sorts before the break. First half was as bad a first half as he would have played as well. And I was actually very surprised that the only change at halftime that was made was Luis Diaz. I thought he would have changed the midfield straight away, because it just simply wasn't working. And it was exposing them Fabinho and Van Dijk and the guys at the back. So I thought he would have made the change earlier. But I gave him a 6, you know, grew into it a little bit more. But again, I think with Naby Keita as well, Naby's one of those guys that needs to kind of find a performance that's like a guaranteed 7 every week, rather than dipping into a 5 and then having an 8 or a 9 and dipping into a 5. He has been a little bit more consistent this season, and certainly in the last couple of months. But tonight was a bit of a shocker for him.
But he's been there a long time now as well, so there's not really many excuses. Do you know?
But he's had a lot of injuries as well. He hasn't had this. This is the first season where he's had a proper run sort of in the side. You know, Mo Salah, I gave a 7 too. I don't think you can question Mo Salah's energy and his drive and stuff like that. But I think at the moment he's lacking a little bit of confidence. Even the one that he picked up in the box, and he had to take 2 or 3 touches to settle himself, and then kind of kicked it wide and stuff like that. The Mo Salah that we know and love would normally take that ball, take one punch, and bang it back at the net. And I think he's struggling there at the moment. There's a little bit of confidence in him at the moment that just isn't there. He's not kicking on all cylinders.
You could see it in the Newcastle game as well, couldn't you? Like, you know, there was that one chance near the end. You remember where, like, you were thinking this is tailor-made from the score, and it was just, there's a little bit of a lack of confidence.
It's like he's frustrated with his own performance at the moment.
I think people thought he was going to well, I think he thought he was probably going to get the head kicked off him as well when he ran in on Rooney that time. And it was like everyone was ganging up, and it was like, that was a fair fucking, like, even I said like that. He was entitled to go for that, you know what I mean? The keeper fucking spilled it. But, you know, you can tell he's a nice guy, because he was kind of like, lads, relax. I'm not here to fight you. Chill. But no, he's in his own head as well. And like I would say as well, you know, you mentioned this before. We don't know what way his head is with these contract issues too. You know what I mean? So there's probably horses for courses there, like in a lot of ways that.
Yeah, I think at times with him as well, there's times you see him play as well where he's trying to play other players in, where normally he would be a little bit more selfish to try and take goals. And I kind of like that in a centre forward as well. I even talked to my own centre forwards when I'm coaching them. Even the other day when we were playing Lusk, I said to the 3 boys up front, you don't always have to play each other in. Turn and have a go. Always be selfish as well at times as well. You don't always have to do it if it's not working, you know?
It grinds my gears. Like, I done a podcast, obviously, on the Chelsea Roar earlier. Cheap plug for all your Liverpool fans who probably never listen. But we done like our best 11, you know, Chelsea 11. And one of the players that I had within my best ever was Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. And like, I would encourage any young striker to watch Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank. You know well what I'm talking about here. Yeah. That lad would have 20 pot shots. Yeah. And then that one would go in. Because you have to be selfish like that. It's just, I know the modern way is a little bit different, but it doesn't mean it's always better. Like having a fucking shot. Listen, where did Frank Lampard and Steven Gerrard make their bread and butter?
Yeah.
20-yarders, Paul Scholes. Like,
yeah.
And I think as a striker, you're 100% correct. I think you need to be able to just sometimes turn on a dime.
I think his movement is still really good. I think his energy is really, really good. I think he's doing all the things he did before. I think it's been a long season with him as well. Obviously, the disappointment of the AFCON, the disappointment of going out of the World Cup, obviously against Senegal. Obviously, the contract hasn't been sorted out yet and stuff like that. So he's carrying a lot of baggage at the moment and stuff like that. And he looks like he's just struggling a little bit to enjoy his football the way he was prior to Christmas. But certainly there's no lack of effort, and there's no doubt there's goals there, but he just seems to be looking more to try and play someone in. And again, that's only a small thing. It's not a bad thing. But if I was him, just become a bit more greedier again, the goals will be there.
I heard a rumor as well that he was kind of missing the sunny side of SW6 as well, like, and he wouldn't mind giving it another go. I don't know, it could be wrong, but like he could look at Lukaku there and just say no, don't do it. I'm literally I'm taking the piss. I'm sorry, I'm taking 100%. Of course I am. I'm taking the piss. Yeah. No, but look, I wonderful footballer, and like at the end of the day, you can't criticize the man, really. Do you know what I mean? He's given absolutely everything, and he plays with 100%. And if that 100% that he's given is literally only 80% of what his body is actually able to, produce because of maybe fatigue
X, Y, or Z, absolutely.
That's perfect. So I just thought, I know there was probably the listeners there expecting me going to a Scott Steiner promo there, but what I said there does make sense, because it is true though. Sometimes players do have that much fatigue that 80% is their 100%.
Well, I mean, you can imagine the mental fatigue of this Liverpool side at the moment, fighting on four fronts, trying to land everything, even the mental fatigue of having to try and keep up with City and win every week, pressure to win and perform every week. And I said it before,
aren't letting up, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and you can tell, as you said about the fitness, it's not a physical fitness thing. These boys are as fit as be damned, and they're healthy. Yeah. The problem is, it's the mentality of going in and having to try and perform at such a high level, week in, week out, twice a week, 3 times a week, whatever it is. And then try and recover as well. Like, you think about it, the highs of reaching the final tonight and getting through that after such a poor first half. And then, you wake up in the morning, you're back in Liverpool and you go, right, it's Spurs next now on Saturday. You don't even have time to dwell and look back and go, that was all right last night in the end, wasn't it? Because the next thing is, what Klopp is like, he'll go, that's done till the 28th now. It's all about Spurs. And that's the way, the mentality that's
Spurs
in there.
Spurs are a team that are in a little bit of form, and they're, they have the potential.
Yeah, it'll be like another every match for us now. I think we've 6 matches left in the season in order to land this quadruple if it happens. And every match is like a cup final, and it has been for the last 2 months, because we know if we were to slip up at all against Spurs, title race is done. There's no doubt about it, because City, to try and drag City back is going to be unbelievable as it is, but to drop any more points would be unforgivable. We'd be out of the title race, I think. Let's get on anyway. Diogo Jota, I gave a 6-2. It's an interesting thing with Jota. He's been playing really well up till the last few months. But he's kind of that kind of pest that goes in there and does that kind of nasty work for Klopp up front when he needs to put himself about. But I think he's struggling to adjust since Luis Diaz arrived. He obviously was number 4 and maybe number 3, pending on Bobby Firmino and his injuries and stuff like that. But now he's staring down the barrel of potentially being number sort of 4/5. But Diaz has come in, set it alight. And the problem is as well is you've got Diaz coming in on the left. So now Mane has switched into the middle like a traditional 10 and has embraced it and done really well. And the problem is now for Jota, where does he kind of fit in and stuff like that? And he has had in recent times a number of performances that just, he just hasn't showed up. He's been out of games, and it's hard to put a finger on at the moment, because we know at any given time he can show up and be electric. But he's just having that dip at the moment, and I think it's more mental. He's trying to figure out where he fits into this front 5 in terms of rotation and where's the best place to put him. Sadio Mane, I gave an 8-2. I love Sadio Mane because he just never stops and he never quits and he's physical. And, you know, he's not the biggest dude in the world, but he certainly puts himself about. You rarely see people shove him off the ball. He's very, very strong in possession and stuff like that. You know, and up against that midfield, you see that goal that he took there tonight. He goes in against the defender and the keeper, and the ball just happens to pop for him, and he takes it out to the left and finishes it all. You know, sort of that clutch finish as well. And you've seen it even the other day. You've seen it with the toe poke and stuff like that. He just,
well, yeah, like his finishing was always his big thing, wasn't it? That was the kind of question mark over.
But you remember earlier in the season, his finishing had deserted him, and he was missing gilt edge chances and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So he had to go and refine that. And I suppose winning the AFCON and also qualifying for the World Cup has probably helped his confidence greatly as well, because he came back from those kind of dissimilar to Salah, obviously, who would have been disappointed, but he hit the ground running and started scoring again, and he was like the old Sadio Mane that we got back and stuff like that as well. Looked like he was smiling again, enjoying his football and stuff.
Unpopular opinion. I've said it for quite a while now, and it is an unpopular opinion, but I've always been a proponent that I think if he had the goals, he's actually a better player.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether I go that far. I think both of them at their best. I still think Salah is the man, but I think with Sadio Mane, I just think he's so physical in possession and stuff like that, and his reading of the game and all is just really good. His link-up play with Robbo as well is unbelievable, and that's why I think when we get that pre-season with Diaz and Robbo, it's going to be incredible. And I think Mane ultimately will be the guy who plays up the middle going forward. I think it's going to be difficult for Bobby to get back into the side, except in rotation and stuff like that. And remains to be seen what the plan is kind of for Jota. They're going to have to figure it out. We finish up with Luis Diaz, who came on for Jota, obviously on 46, got subbed at half time. I gave Diaz a 9 tonight because I think he brought that energy second half, lifted the side, got things going, tried different things, tried to mix it up. Obviously got the header. But he's always, as I said, he's always on his own, always trying to do things, not scared to run at players and stuff like that. And I just think he's been an exceptional signing. You know, and look, it's not often as well that you have a guy who plays 45 minutes in the second half of a semi-final of a Champions League and you nearly pin a man of the match on him, you know what I mean? So that goes to show the impact that he had, you know.
He was man of the match for me. Like, and to be honest with you, like, a man of the match isn't just about, who done it for 90 minutes. A man of the match is someone that comes in and changes the fucking game and sways it, and that's exactly what happened tonight. And he did exactly that.
Yeah, I just think he's been exceptional, and I'd say he's definitely pinned his flag as a starter in the final anyway, albeit if he doesn't get injured around between now and then. Definitely,
it's gonna be, he's one to watch. That'll be an interesting battle now in a couple of weeks with Reece James and Luis Diaz. If that's the route it goes,
should be a good one.
Very interesting to watch.
Couple of substitutions came on. Obviously, Jordan came on for Keita on 80. I didn't really rate these guys at all because really they're only coming on for 10 minutes. And at that stage, the game was done. And I think it was just frustration boiling over from Villareal. They were kicking out and giving fouls, and it was getting a little
Jordan
bit dirty.
Brought a little bit of it. Henderson brought a little bit of
calmness to it, yeah. But I mean, I don't think there was a lot to be done really, because at that stage the game was done, and it was really frustration from Villareal more than anything. They knew they'd been beaten, and I'm sure they were feeling it, you know. Costas came on for Robbo. I love Costas, you know, he's excellent. He has that shithousery nastiness to him as well, and I like that, you know. Good to see Curtis Jones back on as well. He's been ill in recent times, came on for Thiago on 80. And of course, James Milner came on for Fabinho on 84. I'd love to see Milner on the pitch and stuff like that.
Fucking relic, I know.
Yeah, but still, you know, still one of the fittest guys in the squad.
No, but that's what I mean. When I say relic, I'm not saying that like it feels like he's been around forever. And it's like, he's still just, he's literally just a little ball of energy.
He has been around forever. Ben said it to me the other day. It's mad to think the amount of teams he's played for and the amount of games he's played in. And all
Leeds,
it's unbelievable. Leeds. Where else was he? Aston Villa, City.
Villa, City, yeah.
Us. He's played there everyone nearly.
You know when the contract ends, he'll end up with somewhere like Celtic or something and become a Celtic legend for a couple of years. Like, do you know what I mean?
The talk is he'd probably go back to Leeds, I'd imagine. I'd say if
think
that's
so.
Liverpool, don't tie him down to a coaching role, because
But
I
when
believe
relegated,
he's unbelievable in the locker room. Like, so
well, apparently he's Leeds through and through though. Apparently,
yeah.
like he has ambitions to kind of do stuff with Leeds going forward. Well, and you can respect that, you know.
Oh yeah, 100%. He's been a great servant for us.
But we'll relegate Leeds now in a few weeks. So
yeah, but this has been the
way we were meant to relegate Everton the other day. So Charity FC are going to give Leeds 3 points and keep that fight between Everton.
Chalk those results down to saving yourselves for the final. That's what I'm doing. Don't even read into it. But this has been your Shankly Sessions, match reaction and player ratings with myself, Niall Hogan, and of course Ian the Dynamo Kelly from the Chelsea Roar. Go check it out there on YouTube, Chelsea Podcast, doing some great stuff over there with some great interviews and content. Liverpool 5-2 on aggregate, go through to the final. Paris is the next stop for the Champions League. The question is, who will be there? Will it be the Whites of Madrid or will it be the Blues of Manchester? Till next time, my friend, a pleasure.
Pleasure, brother.